Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Man, Antonelli here, and today we're answering your questions. And today's question is, where do you live in the major leagues? And so, when you get called up to the major leagues, where do you live? Who do you live with? How does it all work? We're going to go in depth on this. I get a lot of questions about living arrangements in the majors and in the minor leagues. And so I'm going to give you, although this is geared towards the major leagues, let me give you a very quick, very short and quick background of where you live in the minor leagues, just so you have an idea of the differences when you finally get to the major leagues, okay? So real fast, in the minor leagues when you're playing, there's a couple of different places that you'll live, okay? You can do host families. Now, host families aren't super popular, but I did live with a host family in single A ball. And a host family is basically a family from that town, wherever you're playing, your hometown, they take you in. And so you become part of their family. And that was great. It might sound, well, if you get a bad family, I'm sure it's terrible, but I got a great family. And so that's one way you can live. Now, the most popular way is getting an apartment. And so you'll get an apartment with teammates, sometimes 4 teammates, sometimes 2. Maybe if you're really strange, 1. I'm just kidding. But I did live by myself 1 year, okay? So maybe I'm really strange. But I've lived with, like I said, actually in Fort Wayne in low A ball, I felt like there was like 15 of us living in an apartment. Here's the thing about the minor leagues. You don't get paid any money. And so you want to get as many teammates as you can to live in an apartment together so you can all split it and live for like $100 a month, right? Not really $100 a month, but you want to keep it as low as possible, okay? So that's the main way that you're going to live, is an apartment. And other than that, I don't really know of really any other ways to live in the minor leagues. Every year was either an apartment or a host family. I take that back. My first year, I lived in a hotel. It was weird. When I got drafted and went to short season A ball in Eugene, Oregon, they put the whole team up in a hotel right near our home ballpark in Eugene. And so David Freese and I were roommates. And then David Freese got sent up to low A ball and he left. And then I ended up rooming with Wade LeBlanc. And then Wade got sent up to low A ball. Then I got moved in with Matt Bushman. And then I got moved up to low A ball. So you just keep switching hotel roommates. And then on the road, it's all hotels, okay? Bad hotels, but hotels. Now, let's go to the big leagues. That gives you a quick idea of what the minor leagues looks like. Now, in the big leagues, when I got called up, right, so I'm in AAA, I'm playing, I get called in the manager's office, they say, congratulations, you're going to the big leagues. And then I fly out and go play. Now, when I get to San Diego, they put you up in a hotel, all right? So there's a hotel, I think it was a Marriott, it was a nice Marriott, I think it was, right next to Petco, all right? So that's where the team puts you up, and they pay for your hotel at home for the first 2 weeks, I believe it was. So for 2 weeks, I was up in this hotel right near the park. And again, like I said, it was very nice. Not like, it wasn't a suite or anything. I had a bathroom and I had a bed in a bedroom. But the best part about it was right next to the stadium. So every day I'd get up, I'd walk downstairs, I'd walk out my door, I'd cross the street and go right into the stadium. It was terrific. That's like the easiest thing ever. And that's what I really enjoy. I'd had years in the minor leagues where you got to get in your car and drive like 15, 20 minutes to the ballpark. Like, that's terrible. I did that in San Antonio and AA. I don't want, like, I'd rather just get up and walk right to the field. So I loved it. And actually, I loved it so much that after those 14 days were done and they stopped paying for it, I said, you know what? I'm just going to pay for it myself. And I just stayed in that room because I didn't want to have to go and look for another place to live. Now, what normal people do is after those 14 days, most people, again, are going to go look for some type of apartment. And so it's very similar to the minor leagues. You'll just go and you'll try to work out a short-term lease for an apartment. And this can kind of be a pain in the butt sometimes because, again, you've got to get a spot where they're not going to lock you in for a really long time because the season is only basically, 6 months long? But depending on when the season starts, or when you get called up, I should say. Like, I got called up during the season. And so I would have been looking for a very short-term lease, okay? That's what usually happens. You get the short-term lease, and a lot of times players will stay in the same type of places. And so, you can ask the team, hey, where do players usually stay? They're going to recommend it to you, and then most of the guys are going to go into that one place because maybe they're really good at giving short-term leases, okay? But I didn't do that. I stayed in my hotel. Now, other places that you can stay. Now, remember, in the big leagues is where you're going to have more more players with families, right? You're gonna have older players. In the minor leagues, it's a lot of young guys. In the older leagues, yeah, in the major leagues, you're gonna have families a lot of times. You're gonna have guys with long-term contracts. And so what players usually do is once they get a long-term contract, or maybe they have a family, a lot of them end up buying, maybe a house. And so there are a lot of guys that own houses. You also have to remember that when you get in the major leagues, you're finally getting paid money. In the minor leagues, you might be making like $5,000, $6,000 a year, maybe $10,000 a year if you're lucky. And so you're not gonna buy a house in your minor league team's city, especially where you're gonna get moved, you could be moved up and down. Hopefully when you get to the big leagues, yes, you can be traded and you can be sent down, but once you kind of feel like you're a little bit established, right? I've got a contract, or maybe I'm still on my rookie contract. Maybe I haven't hit arbitration yet, but I know that I'm playing pretty well and I should be here for hopefully longer than a couple of weeks. You can look into buying a house. And so I would say, at least in my experience with the Padres, a lot of the older players had houses. The younger players were mostly apartments. And we were kind of a younger team when I got called up because we weren't having a great year. A lot of guys were getting called up, and so you'd have guys with apartments, some guys in hotels. And so that's kind of how housing works. Now on the road for living arrangements, we've talked about hotels. You're always going to be in a hotel on the road. Unless you're like I don't know, maybe you've got family that live in that town, or maybe you've just got so much money that you say, you know what, I've got a house in Florida and we end up playing the Marlins or something and I got a house here, but that's very rare, right? And so you're gonna stay in hotels. And the hotels are the best hotels you stay in. That's one of the best parts about being in the major leagues. Two things. One, you stay in the greatest hotels. So it's all like these, are they 5-star hotels? Like the Ritz and all these places. I've never stayed in hotels in my life anywhere close to the hotels I stayed at in the big leagues. You don't stay at La Quinta when you're in the big leagues. And the other best thing, and this is probably the best thing, is that you don't have a roommate anymore. In the minor leagues on the road, you always have a roommate. And so you might get a roommate that literally, like, maybe he snores, maybe he wakes up at weird hours of the night. Maybe I've had one roommate that the second they woke up, they had to lift all the blinds up and let the sun in. And I can't stand that because I'm trying to sleep. In the big leagues, you don't have that anymore. You can do whatever you want. If you like sleeping with the windows closed, you sleep with it closed. If you want the TV on, you sleep with the TV on. If you want, do whatever the hell you want. In the minor leagues, it can make for a long summer. If you get a roommate that you don't like, that they do something that drives you insane. And I've had everything. I've had snoring, I've had TVs on, I've had, like I said, windows open, or sometimes, like, I'm a pretty early riser, not a crazy early riser, but I like to get up a little early. You get a roommate that wants to sleep until like 1:30 p.m. every day, and you have to like tiptoe around the hotel room. That's not fun either. So get to the big leagues, you get your own hotel room, okay? And that's how it works on the road. So that's basically how housing arrangements work. Oh, the last thing I'll tell you, I didn't tell you this, spring training. Spring training, in the minor leagues, you just stay in a hotel. Hotels are usually the way to go in the minor leagues, okay? And you got a roommate. In the big leagues, I have stayed in a hotel at the very beginning of my time being on a big league roster and being in big league camp. But then I think at my second year, I started staying in apartments. And so they'll set you up. There was a little apartment complex in Peoria right near our stadium, probably like 2 minutes down the road. And they would put me up in the apartment for spring training. And spring training is usually about 2 months long. So it's a little bit easier, nicer if you have an apartment, you got a little kitchen area and stuff like that, makes it easy. But that's the way it goes in the big leagues. Again, unless you're someone that's been around for a long time, you got a lot of money, and you buy a nice little house, or maybe maybe a condo or something like that near the stadium in your spring training site. All right, but I was never that good or that cool, and so I stayed in hotels and apartments. Anyways, that's how living goes in the big leagues. Wish I was there longer. I was not, but it was fun while it lasted. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later. If you've enjoyed this video and want to learn more about building the elite swing, check out our new course. We have over 2 hours of content, almost 30 hitting drills. We break down the exact mechanics that you're going to want to implement into your swing. I've put the link in the description if you want to go check it out.